Hey everyone, it is Coach Sean McCarthy with Colorado Coaching Company and Bold City Coaching. And today's video for the group is really a setup for our next Facebook Live, right? That Facebook Live is going to be on sales, as I told you last time. But this one's really about setting the stage, being able to understand sales a little bit better, and really dispelling some of the myths about sales and selling for your small business, for how you interact with your customers and clients, particularly as though it's about sales. Now, this all falls under, that whole spectrum of how do we improve our marketing? How do we improve our sales through that know me, like me, trust me, finally pay me, right? Customers and clients are always moving in that spectrum, and we have to know where they're at and what do we need to do to move them further along into the spectrum to ultimately get them to engage with us as a customer or a client. As I said, I am Coach Sean McCarthy, and I've been doing this, doing small business coaching for over 10 years now. Prior to that, I owned some of my own small businesses. So I think all that's important because this isn't just something I'm taking out of a book. This is about real life application, but more importantly is through those 10 years, I've been able to work with a variety of different customers and different clients for myself and help them engage their customers, their clients, and look at what really works. And then obviously on top of that is, tons of opportunities to learn more about my trade. And my trade is helping you get through the program. Helping you grow your business. So this is, I'm using BeLive.tv. And so one of the things I like about it is it lets me set up my agenda, keep me on pace here. So if this seems that we're going a little fast, you'll be able to ask any questions that you might have. When you do that, happy to answer any, or you can ask them during our next coaching call in the group. This is all part of our Business Accelerator program. And the 5 key areas of that Business Accelerator program are really what we talked about last time, which is generating leads. And we really did a deep dive into how do you better prospect? How do you find better leads for your business? How do you make sure that you're getting the right ones? And it's not so much about finding more and getting a larger volume. It's more about finding the right ones, right? We talked a little bit about that 80-20 and really looking at who are those 20% customers or clients for you and your business, and how do we reach them a little bit better? And then with that, we also, I talked a little bit about some strategies and tools in order to re-engage past customers and clients. So if you haven't seen that video, make sure you tune back in on that one. The second part, once we've got the leads, we've got to convert them into customers and clients. And that's what kind of setting up the stage for today. And that really is about sales. Now, many of you do not like sales. I know that. And it's not, it's a matter of fact for your business. In order for your business to succeed, you're going to have to get more comfortable selling. And really, it's not about selling. It's about offering a solution to your customer or your client's problem. No matter what you sell, really, that's what you're doing, right? You're offering a solution to a problem, whether or not they know that problem exists. They might come to you for a different reason, but you've really got to be focused on what it is you offer, what it is you provide, and how will that benefit your customer or client. We'll get a little bit deeper into that today. That next phase of our Business Accelerator program is really looking at how many transactions do you get from your current customer or client, and how do we increase that number? And we're always and throughout our whole program, we're always looking at that 10% improvement area. And through that, we're going to help you double those profits year over year. The next one is really looking at what's the price point, right? What's the average ticket sale, and how do we get them to purchase a little bit more? How do we upsell, cross-sell, downsell in order to increase your ticket prices so that between those two, more transactions and an increase in ticket price, you're going to see a significant increase in your revenue over the years. Finally, our last stage that we'll look at in our Business Accelerator program at the tail end there is really helping you improve your margins. And many of you may not even know what your margins are. You don't know how to decrease your margins or how to improve your margins, and we'll definitely get involved in that. But today's talk is really about that second phase, and that is step number 2, which is sales and improving your sales. So let me throw that one up, I guess, since I just said sales. I want you to pause a minute and think about what is the process that, that a customer typically goes through to become a customer or client of yours, right? What is that buyer's journey? What is the process? Is it you reaching out to them? Is that typically how it is? Do they come to you? Do you engage first on Facebook? Is it a phone call? Do they reach out to you via email? How do they start the engagement process? And what are the steps that go into that process, right? I want you to spend a little time on your sales process. If you do that, that's really going to be your homework. If you take that and you begin to go through what's that process look like, when we talk next time and we actually have our coaching session, you're going to be better prepared to tweak that process, and you're going to be better prepared to understand that. But today, that is not what we're talking about today. Today, I want to talk to you about trust and value. And see, it's interesting that that most people miss this. Most people, particularly small business owners, but I know many salespeople that miss this, that sales really comes down to 2 major pieces. These are those 2, right? Trust and value. It's never about price. We all think it's about price. It's never about price. I guess I have to back that up. I guess there are a few rare occasions where, a few rare occurrences where somebody truly can't afford whatever it is that you offer. And whatever it is you're selling, they truly can't afford it. And if that's the case, then you've done a bad job really pre-qualifying that buyer. Now, they might just call you up out of the blue. Fair enough. And as you talk through it, they still might be interested and have no idea what the value or what the investment would be. That's okay, right? I mean, we have those, but for the most part, people can afford amazing stuff. I'm blown away how many times in the coaching world I've had somebody who pulls up in a $45,000 truck. I roughly know, I can tell by what when they pull up, I know exactly how much that truck payment is. Not exactly, I guess. I have a rough idea of what that truck payment is, but they'll tell me that they can't afford coaching. Now, they can afford a $45,000, $48,000 truck, but they can't afford coaching. Makes me scratch my head, and it used to bother me a lot before. No, the problem there isn't about price. It's not the price of my coaching. It's about the value or perceived value they see in the coaching, or perhaps it's in trust. And we'll deep dive a little bit more into that. But you see, people buy hundreds of thousands of dollars for a house. They'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for a house. They will spend hundreds of dollars to go out to eat. They will spend hundreds of dollars getting their Starbucks coffee. It's all about how do they prioritize and how bad do they feel the pain, and how big is that solution, and what's the value proposition you're providing. Or it might just be, it's the politer way of saying, I really don't trust that you can deliver on what you're selling. So this really comes about after, as I said a little bit earlier, after owning, and I am reading my notes, guys, I do apologize, but after owning my own small businesses, coaching small business leaders for well over 10 years, coaching salespeople, coaching CEOs, after countless webinars and trainings and courses and classes on the topic, I estimated that I've probably, just on the topic of sales alone, I've probably put in well over 800 hours just on this topic of how does a small business convert a lead into a customer. Right? I mean, just 800 hours. And I don't expect you to put in 800 hours by no means. That's why you're watching this. That's why you're engaged in the program. But I do need you to understand that trust and value are what sales are completely about. If you want to improve your sales conversion, we've got to be able to talk a little bit about trust and value. And see, here's what it is too, right? Trust. We're going to talk. So let's talk trust here. Let me see where I'm at on my thing. Yeah, perfect. Sorry about that. As you all know, that's all part of the puzzle for me, is figuring out my tech. But there's two components to trust, right? One is, do they trust you, the salesperson, right? We all know that we say people really don't buy from a business. They don't buy from a product. They're buying from the person they're interacting with, right? So that might be a little bit of when they say no, when you're struggling with your conversion rate, it might be they're not buying you. They don't trust you. They don't believe that you can deliver on whatever product or service that you're doing, that you're offering, that you're selling. And it could also be that they don't trust your product or your service particularly, right? I mean, it could be a little bit about that, right? They might think that you're really good at marketing it, and you're coming across as a little salesy, that it really won't produce the results that you're promising. It's really not as advertised, kind of thing. And that's one piece of trust. Here's one that many people miss, particularly if you're in a service industry that services another person, if you're in a high-end ticket sales. So in other words, if you're selling courses, or you're selling seminars, if you're selling, any knowledge-based product, or, like me with coaching, sometimes the truth is they don't trust themselves. Has very little to do with you, and that talk in their head is really, they're afraid that, especially if it is a higher ticket priced item, they're just afraid they're not going to take full advantage of it. They're not going to do it. I'm just as guilty of this, right? There's been plenty of things that I have talked myself out of, but it had nothing to do. I really did like the product. I did like the course. I liked whatever was going to be taught to me. I didn't think I had the time, or more importantly, that I would be, I would truly engage in what it was I was going to buy. And that had nothing to do with the product, had nothing to do with their sales, had nothing to do with anything. It had everything to do with me, and my mindset had to change, right? When I was ready to commit, then I was ready to buy for it. Now I tend to buy first and then figure out the time later on. And that's how I've had to justify it, because I've learned that those opportunities are not always available to me. But most of the time, when it's a course, when it's coaching, if I buy it, I've always got access to it. And so that's one of those things. But it's important for you to recognize that, right? There's two pieces to this trust. They may not trust you or your product or your service, but they also may not trust themselves. So that's an important one for you to recognize and think about between now and when we're going to have our actual coaching call on this sales conversion, because we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And that's really why I'm doing this training, right? I'm doing this so that you guys can come better prepared to the actual coaching session. So the second thing that comes into play, though, here, and that's value. And see, this is a little bit different. This is where people think it's about price, but they're just not good at selling the value, right? And this has more to do with, again, people will pay. It's amazing to me how much money people waste. But see, if they just don't value the solution enough, if they don't value the end result, if they don't value, as it is in coaching, the transformation, if they're not feeling the pain enough to pay enough to get rid of it, then that's a piece that you need to play up a little bit. You got to help them understand how much their pain has actually cost them. You need to talk about, prime example is I was in pretty bad pain earlier this month. And my lower back was hurting so bad that, I probably would have paid 3 to 4 times what I ended up paying to go to the chiropractor, but I had to go multiple days in a row. That's normally not like me. And so one of those is that idea of what's it take to get yourself out of pain. Well, when it's affecting me on a daily basis, I'm going to spend the money. All right. I've got to be able to function. I've got to be able to do this stuff. So that's why, in that it's important for you as the small business owner, as the salesperson, to help them understand and connect the dots of, what that pain is costing them. Now, sometimes what you're selling is a convenience. Well, then we've got to stress the time you're going to be able to save them. Sometimes what you're selling is a product that's going to bring them joy and happiness. We've got to be able to talk about then how the joy and happiness is missing. Sometimes what you might be selling it is again time to a degree, because let's say you have a lawn service, right? If you mow lawns, if you have a landscape service, guess what? You're going to save them. But more importantly than that is, it's also about, if they're going to hire a landscaper to do some of that business, chances are they're also concerned about what other people are going to think about them. And so to be able to sell some of that, that's part of that pain, to be able to understand that is you want to be able to sell to them that their house is going to be the best looking house on the street. Many times when I'm selling coaching, that's what I've got to be able to sell the transformation. It's not about the current situation, and it's not even about the goal, but it's about the person they're going to become, right? This is and sometimes what I'll do is I'll mention, imagine if you don't engage right now in coaching. And so the next year looks a lot like this year. Was this year good? Do you feel really good about this year? Well, see, the truth of it is most of the time, if they're talking to me about coaching, no, because they're kind of getting frustrated. They're kind of tired of not getting not moving through, not getting the advancement that they want to be able to get. And so they're looking for somebody to hold them accountable. They're looking for somebody to offer that feedback, that perspective and challenge them truthfully to grow. And so sometimes what I need to be able to sell is to say, is it worth not moving forward? Is it worth staying stagnant for another year? No matter what's going on, right? Because many times they're talking to me about the new car payment. They're getting ready to put their kids through college. They're getting ready, all of these things that have been going on. But let me tell you, the difference is how long are you willing to sustain the pain? How those things aren't ever going to go away. There's always going to be, money and financial needs coming in. And it has nothing to do with the financial investment. It has everything to do with, do they trust that I can deliver on what I say I can deliver on? And two, how well do they understand the value? I guess I left that one out, right? Maybe it could be about that they don't trust themselves to actually take advantage of it. In my coaching, I'm able to address that all the time. We're talking on an ongoing basis. Rarely do I not have somebody actively engaged. Rarely do I not have somebody who begins to see almost immediate results, because once they're willing to commit to themselves, all of a sudden something switches on their brain and they start doing amazing. I say it all the time. We haven't even started coaching. They filled out the online forms, but their brain has switched over because now they've convinced themselves that they're worthy of investing in. They have told themselves, I am worthy to be I am investing in myself and I'm worthy of that. And from just that basic switch in their brain, all of a sudden they start seeing brand new and bigger results. And then through the coaching, we're able to, leverage that and make even those big results, leverage that even further into larger and larger results. I see it all the time. But you've got to be able to look at that for your own small business. And what does that look like, right? How do we increase the value? What's that look like? How do you help them step through it and understand the value of what it is that you are offering or selling in your small business? Guys, I'm looking at my clock, so I know that we're about 18:50 in, so I'm going to wrap this up really quick, because value really comes back to that investment. And in the next one, what we're going to do is I want you to begin to think a little bit of, what is it that you can do, or how are you going to create that credibility and increase? My agenda is in my way here. I can't see, so we're going to close that here. And increase trust, right? How do you create credibility in your sales process and increase trust? I'm going to share that with you on the next video, but begin thinking about that for you, and particularly in that process that I asked you to look for. The second one that I want you to be able to look at here is I want you to think about, how do you create better value for your customer and client with what you sell? What do you need to say? How do you need to propose that? What kind of follow-up, what kind of systems need to happen so that you can create better value for them And maybe it's, maybe it's even something as simple as like what I'm doing here, which is creating a video for them or this coaching program. So I want you to begin to think about that, guys. I apologize. I'm about 5-6 seconds over what I said I would. Go ahead and work on some of this stuff. If you haven't watched this, make sure you watch the video all the way through. And I'll see you on the next coaching call. And again, we're going to talk more about this stuff. Take it easy, everybody.